Now, okay, what am I going to be in this video? We're going to be reacting to Intro Style. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure they say there's like 5 stages of grief, and one of them is denial. Film Theory posted a couple, like, of I think when the episode released or whatever. Either way, this is not the end of the minute. So they posted another video, so this is why this is on my radar. I looked to see if they posted any other videos before I react to that video, but I want to. That's 55 minutes long, that video I'm going to react to. I also thought the title was for that video. Either way, wanted to react to this first, because one, the title interested me, and they changed the thumbnail recently, to be honest, because it wasn't this before. Either way, I'm pretty sure it is the end of the mini-series. Now, I will say before this, how Merv Jones posted a recent, like, short or whatever. Here's an idea. Like, you know, short of Jay or whatever, if you guys have seen it, I'm pretty sure most people have who are big Merv Jones fans. They posted that short of Jay and doing Jay stuff. I feel like they could do the same with the mini-series. Obviously, give it like, maybe a year or something, probably. While mini-series, like, you know, has died down a bit, or like not died down, but for example, how same as Mojo stuff, or they can give us, you know, who knows, with like maybe a past, like not a prequel, but like just how stuff happens or whatever. Maybe we see like a past, like just a small like short episode with Jackson Rabbit, or short episode with Scratch and Kinga. Give some characters a bit of depth, a bit more time to think, or a small like episode with literally them entering the mini-series for the first time. I feel that's all we really need is a couple of small episodes or whatever, and it could even tie everything together. But for someone give Scratch maybe some speaker lines, etc. I'm pretty sure most people think Goose is never gonna tie it down at all. Either way, I'm pretty sure if I can see like I can see Goose maybe doing some short episodes here and there, just like for merch ads and stuff, but obviously not consistently, maybe do one at the most. Either way, I would really appreciate if they did that, but then it's up to me, and I would like it, but we always can't get what we would like, huh? Anyway, yeah, without ado, let's get into it, just making sure my thing isn't okay. Let's get into it. This is not the end of the Manual Circus 25-minute long video.
The finale for the Amazing Digital Circus is finally here. And as expected, there were a lot of laughs and a lot of tears. And the door left wide open for more stories in this world. That's right, friends. This isn't the end of the Amazing Digital Circus. And I can prove it. Hello, internets! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that's thinking real hard about conjuring up a subscribe button. Wait, it's right there. Do you see it? Click it for me. So, after a few years, over a billion views, a Netflix deal, and more theories than you might expect from this little indie animation that could, the Amazing Digital Circus, created by Gooseworks and Glitch Production.
Thing is, realistically, I'm like, once I see an indie show I get addicted to, I am hooked. Once I see a show that I get addicted to, I'm probably like there for a bit of the time, but I kind of lose interest. For example, I used to be so into that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I watched it recently, like kind of watched it recently because of those, obviously all the primary videos about it, if you've ever seen that. And I'm not hooked on it anymore as I used to when I first, like when I first watched it, I binged the whole thing when I first started watching it, which was around like a long time ago, about 2-3 years ago or something, I don't know, it was a long time. Either way, binge watched the whole thing. I really was into anime, like my anime era, I guess, but like the mini-series, I'm hooked. Every time episode's about to release, like I get such a weird feeling in my gut, like she's so hyped for it. Oh yeah.
Is finally at an end. They actually released this one in theaters, where just like other independent artist-driven projects that started either on or were led by YouTubers, it made bank. $20 million its opening weekend, which is just a game changer for indie animation like this. The episode itself is up for you to go watch right now, but I made a point to get tickets for the finale screening the day it premiered, and you know what? I have a lot of conflicting opinions about it. I have thoughts, but putting all of that aside, seeing this community come together and, at least at my screening, have a fun time together celebrating this show, hey, maybe the real finale was the friends we made along the way. Also, shoutouts to Kennedy, William, and the guy in the dope Kinger cosplay at my local screening. Thanks for saying hi. And sorry I did not catch your name, Kinger. I also loved the funny little clip they had with the yellow fish from the beach episode asking folks not to spoil things or leak anything online. They should really release that online sometime. I don't know, it was like a YouTube short or something. It was hilarious. Now, as I said, I have a lot of thoughts about this episode. I'm actually going to be doing a big project pretty soon in the style of the Backrooms timeline, where I sit down and rewatch the whole series now that we have the full story arc and just really break down its...
I'm assuming that's a 55-minute video.
Collection perfection. Order now.
I'm going to go on assumption that's a 55-minute video above, which I will be watching for future videos. I might watch it after this, I don't know.
But my first reaction? Oh my god, we were actually right about some things. Some pretty big parts of the series, too. Back in our very first theory about the show, after one episode, we predicted
all the characters aren't actually humans trapped inside the digital.
By the way, I was just gonna say, this is like MatPat's video. Yeah, by the way, I don't know if they predicted it, like Film Theory is the one who predicted it, or a bunch of people, because I saw this theory floating around a bunch, so I wouldn't know if Film Theory is the first one to predict it, or they just saw it on the internet and just came up with the theory. Either way, literally in general, generally speaking, it's been so long since I've heard MatPat. Yeah.
Circus. Instead, they're all digital copies of the brains of humans who've put on these headsets.
And indeed, this finale flat out confirms that these characters were created from brain scans of humans, but that they themselves were not actually human. And hey, by extension, I guess both Jax and Pomni were both technically AI. Okay. Listen, I'm just kidding. Put down the pitchforks. yeah, those theories did not pan out like we had hoped. And, dang it, Jack Black did not voice Kaufmo in the finale, but, can't win them all. Though the Amazing Digital Circus has had its curtains called, I don't believe we've seen the last of this series. And not just because they released a Fortnite collab.
Plus, it would explain why Jonesy has been here the past 2 weeks.
No, given what we see in this episode, we haven't seen the final performance of these characters. Not yet, but how? In what medium? Will Gooseworks be involved? Please get some rest, Queen. Today, loyal theorists, let's talk this finale.
If we're being honest, like, really, I don't want to talk too much because like, this video's gonna be an hour if I can't see pause like this. But if we're being honest, like, I think unless they overview what they do with Jay, they're going to be releasing a bunch of merch ads, which they have been doing kind of recently, and obviously some shorts I've seen, and I recommend I might do a video reacting to them. I don't know, but they are definitely gonna be they're definitely gonna be releasing a bunch of like just ads and stuff, and it is nice because you usually still get the voice actors for the ads. But like most likely, the only way it will continue is maybe they'll make a whole comic, which would be nice, like an official comic. But I think the only way it will continue is probably like a video, like the main saga's character special, etc.
Some thematic analysis and see just how this series finale leaves the door wide open for the Amazing Digital Circus to come back. Open the door and give that giant abstracted monster a hug, loyal theorists. We're going in. The episode starts with a remake of the very first episode's title theme, but Kane...
The only time I can actually see this show coming back in an actual show format is if they do a prequel. Because I don't think there will really be any like stakes up at all in like a normal prequel in like the actual show anymore. At most they could try and reverse Jack's abstraction, which I'm pretty sure we have known that's impossible to reverse anymore. They can't keep him around as a pet dog.
Is missing. And when we see what's inside the circus, well, everything's fallen apart. The castmates regroup, and just like I predicted in my last theory, Jax kind of crashes out at Kinger. And he's very upset that the other castmates aren't upset at Kinger for, quote-unquote, messing up and deleting Kane. Specifically, he says, quote, he gets to mess up like this and everyone takes his side? And given everyone's silence, yeah, Kinger does. That's what happens when you try to be helpful and kind and good instead of mean mean and cruel. You get more grace when you make mistakes. Anyway, Kinger reveals that while he was on the computer, he saw that they were all actually brain scans. There is no escape from the circus because they have nothing to escape to. They exist entirely as digital brain scans of real people who have probably moved on with their lives. Understandably, this greatly upsets the cast, and they all need some time to process this alone. But eventually, Pomni goes and finds Kinger, who teaches her how to conjure, and slowly, they start to repair what they can in the circus. One by one, each of the others joins them, well, except for Jax, repairing the circus until eventually, it looks at least a little bit like it did before everything fell apart. Also, it's kind of funny and tragic that Kinger is wearing a bucket on his head like this entire time, and there has to be a better solution to black out light, right? Well, actually, there is, thanks to the partner for today's theory, Manta Sleep. You know how in like old cartoons, when someone was in bed, they'd sometimes wear these eye masks? Well, that sort of nighttime eyewear actually so much video on. Shout out option or scanning. Thanks again to Manta Sleep, and Jax sadly abstracts. It happens kind of suddenly in the story. Honestly, it was a little bit jarring, but if what they were going for was how abrupt and tragic a real-world death can be, they succeeded here. Anyway, hoping to find something of Jax inside the abstracted creature, Pomni tricks it into a dark space and then just hugs him. From there, she sort of enters what remains of Jax's...
Which, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how anyone didn't end up. For someone, Kinger touched Queenie's like face. Maybe she didn't hug him. He didn't hug him. I thought that might be enough to enter her mind. So I'm surprised no one has ever done this. Maybe Kinger did, but he forgot, and maybe that memory's just lost. I doubt it. I'm just surprised no one's ever been able to do this.
Mind. And this starts a sequence that goes on for like half of the episode. And at least in this first part, Pomni finds a space with a bunch of different doors. And I really liked how they handled this part of the depths of Jax's psyche. It seemed like each of the doors within his mind was actually leading to a scenario that Jax imagined in his head, which was how he would react if each of the other castmates abstracted. Like, we saw that he tried to project, like he didn't really care if Gangle abstracted. And he kind of became cruel in his silliness afterwards. He basically...
I do wish there was like a true... I don't know if the true door was his memories, but let's say there's a true door of that in episode 2 when he seemed annoyed about Kaufman's funeral. We obviously see him how he felt when Kaufman was distracted, but he goes, like, he walks past and we actually see, like, maybe he attend to Kaufman's funeral after everyone's left or something. I would have really liked that, but you know.
Comes like a Looney Tunes character, hurting Zooble, who he knows was very close to Gangle. Likewise, we see that he becomes even worse, more violent and distant, imagining Ragatha abstracting. That's interesting, knowing the relationship that they have now, but given that we find out that they used to be friends in this episode, and that Ragatha is kind of Jax's last connection to the circus that he first arrived in, well, yeah, that makes sense. What's most interesting though here for me is that one of these doors is just completely chained shut. If I had to guess, unless Jax was just like secretly really close to Kinger, that door has to be Pomni's. Despite everything, Jax has let himself get so close to Pomni that he shut off the train of thought, even imagining what would happen if Pomni was gone. Anyway, after confronting various parts of Jax's personality and having them like Thanos dust away, which itself seems sad because that seems to be a representative of Jax losing himself to abstraction just little bit by little bit, Pomni eventually finds a room that's just Jax's memories. And here we enter a section of the episode where we literally are seeing from Jax's point of view. We're seeing out of his eyes and his history and journey through the circus from before he entered all the way up to the events of episode 7. And it's a tragic story. His human form was living out on the streets before he entered the circus, but when he did, he found friendship and companionship, particularly with Ragatha, Kaufmo the Clown, and this frog character we've only really seen in flashes before, Ribbit. Kaufmo and Ribbit form a close-knit circle with Jax, helping him ease into his new life in the circus. And I mean, Jax and Ribbit get close. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I felt some insane chemistry there. Enough so that when one of the flashbacks has Jax hanging out with Ribbit in her bedroom, I was like, is this going where I think it's going? There are children in this theater. But it doesn't. Though the two
think, but I was
do
like,
get intimate,
what's
it's
going on?
more
I
about
felt like they
sharing
were
their
lovers at
past
one
and opening
point.
up about their trauma. Ribbit
Yeah.
shares her bad experiences
kinda
with
dropped on him,
religion
like,
and her
randomly
family,
as
while
helpful.
Jax, after a long while, reveals that he did not have a good relationship with his parents at all. He didn't live up to their standards, and he held on to a secret for a long time. And when he eventually revealed that secret to his mother, she just laughed at him in a way that was cruel. But when she tried to hug Jax at the end of it, he just pushed her away. So much so that she fell down and stopped moving, and he wasn't even sure if she was alive afterwards. So he just ran. That's why we saw him on the streets. He was homeless. Given the description of Jax's struggle here, how he blushes when Ribbit puts her bow on his head, the appearance of his human form at the end of the episode, as well as the fact that Gooseworks identifies a lot with Jax, it seemed pretty clear to me that the secret he was carrying and what caused his struggles in the real world was that he was trans. To be clear, I am not saying that being trans is any sort of struggle in and of itself, only that the world is often unfair and cruel to those who don't fall into traditional gender roles or identities. Also, given that Jax and the other castmates in the circus still use he, him for both Jax and his human counterpart, that's what I'm going to be using for the rest of this episode too. Cool?
Yeah,
Cool. Unfortunately, before they can continue to open up to one another, Kaufmo interrupts Jax and Ribbit, and Jax sort of panics and leaves. And unfortunately, it's all downhill from here. He pushes both Ribbit and Kaufmo away, and just like we saw their relationships build and build, now they fall apart. Jax insists that he made up everything he shared with Ribbit and deliberately hurts her feelings,
That was, like,
eventually leading to an
instantly.
argument in a
From what it seems, it was literally like the next day he did. Like, he went to his room, cried about it for a bit, came back out the next day, immediately just meaning that like he fabricated everything, told a lie, then he avoided him straight away. Like, it was literally after one cry, immediate.
snowy adventure. Ribbit soon abstracts afterwards. Kaufmo follows, and then Pomni appears, leading us to the events of the show. Honestly, this was just a beautiful encapsulation of this character, flaws and all, and gives us a chance to say goodbye to Jax before he completely fades away. Because, yeah, there's no stopping this. Despite saying that he doesn't want to go, the Jax
I don't
entity
want
is
to go,
flashed with a
fine.
bright light, and everything we know about Jax is gone. And though the other castmates save Pomni, there's not a lot that they can do for Jax now. They build a sort of makeshift circus out of sheets and curtains for the abstracted Jax to rest.
You know what'd be even like crazier, like way crazier, is if when someone abstracts, you can't even remember like what they look like in the circus. You can remember how you spend time with them, etc., but you can't remember their face or anything, or how you felt about them. Now that would be even darker, to be honest. For example, Ribbit of Jax can't remember anything, and that's why he breaks down. That would be way more darker.
And then they just mourn their friend. It's sad, man, but the show ain't over yet. We then zoom out and head into the
Jax
void,
really get a
where we
funeral, or
find
was it just like a
Kane?
painting
Wait,
thing?
what? Yeah, gonna be real with you on this one, loyal theorists. I got real confused here. They made such a big deal about Kane being killed at the end of the last episode, and then insisted he was dead outside of the show on social media. If they were gonna bring him back, I think they needed to do a little bit more explaining as to how and why.
Yeah,
like,
it was really
is the
it
void
was
just
really
like the
abrupt.
recycling bin on the computer?
It
Or is
looks
this like a
like
hard
that
drive
for a
where the
second,
data
yeah.
isn't actually gone until it's completely overwritten? I even went back to episode 1 to see if there was more explanation when Kane took Pomni out into the void, but he just said that they weren't really sure what was out there. If you have any other ideas or explanations as to how
think
this
Kane just
happened,
got
please
put
let me know in the
recycling bin.
comments. But either way, I just don't think that
because-
this decision was super earned. Regardless, Kane uses this time alone outside of the circus to
It definitely
reflect on
felt
his
really
actions,
abrupt.
and
Like,
he
It
realizes
felt really random when he appeared, but at the same time, like I said this before multiple times, Kane is my like second favorite character, just after Jax. So I am happy both of them got so much time to shine. I wasn't expecting a treat for like someone Kane to just show up and have more screen time, so I was really happy when I saw this.
that he was sort of in the wrong. This is huge character development for Kane, and one that really completely changes him for the better. I also have to wonder here, we previously joked that maybe Bubble was the remnant of the Blue Dot AI that Kane had consumed, but we dismissed that for a whole lot of reasons. But at the same time, now, I think it's worth revisiting that idea. See, when Kane does reappear out in the void, he's accompanied by a bubble. It's not the character from the circus, however. It's literally just a bubble that he looks into and sees.
Yeah, and also, like, I think it's obviously a reflection of himself. Like, I don't even know if Bubble was the AI or not. It's really hard to tell whether that was true or not. People think Bubble was a virus, etc. Or Bubble was just there to make Kane look at himself consistently 24/7. Don't know. Like, even when Kane, I think Kane, when the Souls came crashing down, there was just a random bubble there. So yeah.
He's his own reflection. However, as Kane continues his adventure here in the void, finding the internet access, the brain scans, whatever, Bubble doesn't follow him. A talking Bubble doesn't actually ever really appear again for the rest of the show. And that might be related to Kane sort of ripping the Blue Dot out and setting it free. I mean, just think about it. Whenever Kane has been sort of glitching out, it seems like it was the blue AI that was the one speaking out against the human cast members. Well, at least that seems to be the case in retrospect. Similarly, Bubble sort of took on that role when speaking to Kane. He was sort of like the evil voice in his ear, the devil on his shoulder, representing his self-doubts about his ability and the castmates.
Maybe you're just genuinely bad at this.
You really were the lesser of the two.
So again, was Bubble the manifestation of that inner consciousness for Kane? Of the blue AI deep inside of his code? It also harkens back to one of our original theories that Matt and I wrote ages ago, saying that Bubble could represent that other AI, and that Kane killed a Bubble. You know, Abel, Cain and Abel, get it? It's dumb, but it kind of works. And also, again, it's a fascinating choice, if this is true, to make the Blue Dot the villain here, right? Since it's the one that seems to be driving the anti-human sentiment within Kane and leads him to actually hurting the cast. Something I saw pointed out after the last episode, when Kane is crashing out and starts attacking the cast, he like physically pins them down, but he's doing it in a way that wouldn't permanently hurt any of them. Like, he's holding Gangle so her ribbons don't fall. He's caging Ragatha and Zubul so their stuffing and pieces don't go flying everywhere, etc., etc. Here, he wants to hurt their feelings to quote-unquote put them in their place, but he doesn't want to hurt them. And that is the Red Dot Kane that tries so hard to get redemption at the end of this show. Naturally, that makes me think, was the Blue Dot here the real quote-unquote villain of the show? The one angry at humanity for whatever reason? Was the Blue Dot a perfect AI frustrated by the imperfections of humanity? Well, if so, that's not what we want or need in this world right now. Humanity is supposed to be imperfect, to grow and learn and make mistakes. And whether or not Glitch and Gooseworks meant to add that sort of anti-AI sentiment into this show when it started, it ended up landing that way. So, you know, nice. Anyway, Kane starts drifting towards, well, something. It's a bit unclear, but we see two versions of the same scene here. One is Kane fully rendered as his circus Sona, and the other is the red Kane Dot from the intro of this episode. I originally interpreted this as what Kane was experiencing and how it was being visualized on the computer monitor where this is all actually taking place in the real world. But we'll come back to that in a second, I promise.
I will say, I really did hope that Goosework didn't reveal so much on her like Tumblr page or whatever she uses, or whatever they uses. Just in general, because like the fact that Goosework revealed, like, for example, abstractions not possible to be undone. Of course, it means that we know Jax can't be abstracted, but like, just in general, throughout the whole episode, we, in a way, that when he abstracted, I'm like, is he gonna abstract fully or not? Or is he probably gonna save him? Is probably not gonna save him? It was hard, but the fact that I knew that Goosework said that, I was like, he's probably gonna abstract because abstraction can't be undone. It's impossible. I believe Goosework has revealed other stuff on the page. For example, not like none of the circus members are AI. I think Netflix might have revealed that. I don't know. Have Goosework on Netflix revealed that. They also revealed some other stuff. I think Goosework has lied on their page before, so it was really like hard to like determine which ones Goosework said are true or not. But it was, well, I feel like I feel like Goosework revealed way too much, to be honest. If I'm being completely honest, yeah. That's just my thought on the whole progress.
At least part of what Kane finds out here looks to be a connection to the outside world. We actually see him break through several invisible walls to get to this connection, which I interpreted as him breaking through whatever sort of firewall was enclosing the computer that the circus is on. This then lets him connect to a Wi-Fi network, and he uses the time to search what's going on with the human identities of the cast. Eventually, he's then booted out and back into the void, and after fighting with himself and almost crashing out again, Kane reaches within himself, literally, and takes out the Blue Dot AI out of him. Without the Blue Dots, he's significantly less powerful, but they just weren't compatible. So, with great sadness, Kane says goodbye and lets the Blue Dot go, and it just sort of floats away. I now have to wonder if that Blue Dot is just like out there, somewhere in the system, doing its own human-hating thing, but you know, who knows. Kane returns to the circus and approaches the cast, apologizing for everything he's done to hurt them. Obviously, they're cautious, but Kane wants to give complete control of the circus to the cast now. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and as
what was that Pomni render?
Is the cast, apologizing for everything he's done to hurt them. Obviously, they're cautious, but
like everyone else doesn't. Like Zubal's always looking angry, to be honest. Like there's the only time I think I see Zubal not looking angry is probably when they're talking to Gangle. Yeah, like what I think I said Pomni render. Oh, that's what the hell.
Kane wants to give complete control of the circus to the cast now. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. And as a way to start to repair their relationship, Kane tells them anything and everything that he found out about their human selves. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but most of what we sussed out about their backstories in previous theories was correct. Honestly, this is just a really sweet moment and a real emotional catharsis for the series, giving us a lot of closure for these characters. But the real growth here for the cast of the circus, this is where they accept that they're not these people, not anymore. When Kane starts calling Pomni Abigail her human name, Pomni instead chooses to go by Pomni instead, because that's who she's really grown to be. Sure, she was Abigail once, but she's not Abigail anymore. The experiences and relationships she's made in this circus have changed her forever. We then get a nice shot of all the characters eating and talking and laughing together around a round table. A direct parallel to how the first episode ended, where they were all lined up on one side of a table. They were part of a picture, a play, an act back then. But now they're looking at one another because they've become a real...
Happened again last night. Took forever.
We jump from app to app, watch previews. There's still too many options.
Okay, you need Fire TV. It recommends what to watch from across your apps.
Find what you're looking for with Fire TV.
Can you recreate the smell of summer as a cake? As someone who loves baking, I'm always taking inspiration from everyday life. So when
Family. Cue the end credits, where we get more snapshots of the post-ending lives of these characters, including another beach episode, a cooking episode, spelunking, playing in a rock band, Christmas, and Zubal and Gangle straight up having a good time in Zubal's room. You know what? Good for them. The credits also end with Kane putting an orb inside of a locked case, and I wondered if this was supposed to be the Blue Dot AI at first. But I think that would go against like everything else for this ending, so this is likely just like a new adventure or world that he created or something like that. But it could be the Blue Dot, but it's probably not. And that is where this story comes to a close. But that doesn't mean we're out of...
He's correct in that, by the way, because I'm assuming he didn't see Gooseworks or whoever's posted it post, like that's an adventure or whatever. Don't know which adventure. I'm assuming an adventure that's like important. Maybe it's the episode that's like the adventure or whatever. Either way, it's an adventure world. Yeah.
Things to talk about, or that this is the end of the amazing digital circus. And why do I say that? Well, it all comes down to the segment where Kane is out in the void and how he interacts with the outside world. Yeah, the way this scene was handled was interesting. It cuts between Kane and a humanoid red dot that represents Kane, both making identical movements and animations and both reaching out for something. From the Kane character's point of view, it's a door representing a Wi-Fi network, but from the red dot's point of view, to, it's a folder full of the brain scans of some members of the cast. When we see the red dot open this folder of the brain scans, again making identical motions to Kane approaching the Wi-Fi door, we see him find the brain scan of a man named Mike Dobby. We then see the red dot create a digital circus and shove Mike Dobby's brain inside of it. We then cut to the stage of the digital circus and Scratch appears out of thin air. So, hold up, wait, what? I'm gonna be real with you guys. This is incredibly unclear. Like, when I was watching this for the first time in theaters, I straight up thought that he'd revived Scratch and that versions of the old cast were gonna be coming back. You know, maybe they'd have their minds wiped, but we were gonna see them again. In fact, I was at this screening with host of Game Theory, Tom, and he'd gotten up to use the bathroom at this point. And when he got back, I told him that the characters were gonna come back because I thought that's what happened. But then, none of them showed up at the circus at the end. In fact, we get to see how their abstractive selves have found an equilibrium with the rest of the cast, either hanging out in a dark circus tent or in an aquarium type enclosure that the non-abstracted cast can visit. So, it's strange. So, like, was this thing that we saw like a different circus? A new circus? I mean, Kane did ask, quote unquote, did I ruin this again? Keyword again. And on top of all of this, we see the creation of what we think is the digital circus at the beginning of episode 8.
I think the again bit is probably the fact that everyone abstracted and the fact that he probably called Scratch's abstraction, leaving only Kino left behind after everyone else left. So he thought he ruined like something like that, and they had to distance themselves and be abstracting. Which, best question, I thought you would have a more bigger reaction to Jack's abstraction. He was like, just can't. Do you want me to fix that? Like, Jax is abstraction. For Jax is abstracted, I thought you would give him more that, like, he's probably responsible for Jack's abstraction there. Obviously, Jax is himself, but the fact that Kane kind of, like, did push it on a bit more than it should have. Like, he was fine for a bit. Episode 6, like, you could say Kane messed with his mind a bit, so maybe that. But episode 6 was kind of his fault. Then episode 7, I would say it's probably Kane's fault. Episode 8, Kane, and then, so on. So Kane did
the red dot making it after it absorbs the blue dot. It would be really weird to show that same event in a completely different way in a completely different context, wouldn't it? So that makes me think, yeah, this is a different circus we're seeing made right here. Another thing here, but the number of brain scans doesn't line up with anything we see in the series either. Yeah, if you go back and watch it, there were 10 brain scans in this folder. At least that's how many I counted when I went back for a second screening. But we only see 7 characters, including Kinger, entering the circus at the very beginning. So at first I thought, wait, that's proof that these are likely the brain scans of the abstracted characters. But at the end of the series, when the cast are painting a mural to honor the fallen abstracted castmates, there are only 9 characters on that mural, not 10. So maybe there was a secret castmate hidden out there? Like maybe the Abel storyline with the mannequin was based on something real? Well, maybe not, but then I remembered that
I feel like if it was, Kane would have told them, because now they're like trying to thingy.
There are other castmates on the doors of the digital circus that were crossed out that aren't on the mural. So, the numbers here just are not lining up. Either Glitch and Gooseworks didn't think that they were important enough to include.
But it probably is the fact that they were getting to paying them, right? They probably put all the people they knew in the center, put the people like they didn't know as much around the side. So they were probably going to get to paying them to realistically.
There's a story here we don't know, or they just didn't think it through, and I don't think it was that last one. So, okay, laying down all of the pieces here. Either what we're seeing here is the creation of a brand new circus where all of these older characters are being reborn to start the cycle all over again, or this was showing us Kane creating the original circus again. So, like, kind of a flashback, I think, maybe. Personally, I'd like it to be the former, but I'm leaning towards it being the latter as the intention here. And though this was a really cool moment for the show, if that was the intention, I don't think it was very well communicated here. I mean, I still can't tell. But all that being said, if Glitch wanted to, this could be the moment for them to break out and turn it into something else. See, ever since this show became such a massive hit, I've had this lingering thought in the back of my mind. They're not gonna, like, just let this end, right? The Amazing Digital Circus is like a once-in-a-lifetime hit for an independent studio like Glitch. These characters and their struggles really connected with an entire generation.
The thing is, compared to most of Glitch's projects, Main Sagas is so much like view-wise. I'm talking about more like obviously just like passion-wise or like just anime-wise. View-wise, Main Sagas is so much like clear compared to everything else. Game of Us could maybe potentially catch up to its pace because of the whole like actual people wanting to watch it, right? It's definitely, I think it's the most viewed pilot, surpassing Glitch when it first, for like the first month, like surpassing Glitch is like faster than the Main Sagas. So Game of Us could catch up, which I do hope it does, and I hope it gets greenlit. But like, generally speaking, after this, I think a lot of people are already, depending on how like Glitch will do after Main Sagas go off, they still get like obviously really decent views like on everyone that pilot, don't get me wrong, but compared to the Main Sagas views, it's nothing. So yeah.
And it gave Glitch so many resources to do more, to expand out, to sell genuinely high-quality merch, to partner with mainstream stores and brands like Netflix and Hot Topic, and to back other independent projects like the Knights of Guinevere and Gameverse. I just do not see a world where they never go back to this well. And that's not just me saying that, that's according to Glitch's global brand manager, Morgana Ignis. Here, check out what she said at one of the screenings of the finale.
So this is not the end of the journey for Digital Circus, but this is the end of this story.
Did you catch that? Yeah, while this story is done, the Digital Circus isn't. And I mean, there are a couple of ways they could easily do that. There could be a spin-off show about an earlier era.
That also could be the fact that like, the specific story is over, but the characters still live on inside the Main Sagas, but they're still living their life, etc. It could be anything. It could literally not just be like merch ads or like specials they'll do or stuff like that.
The circus with the original castmates, for instance. Or they could do comics that are set between the episodes of this show with the main cast. Or maybe they could do like, I don't know, like a video game. Yeah, like, I mean, could you imagine a point-and-click adventure game similar to I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which inspired the Digital Circus? And I mean, hey, Glitch recently started hiring for a head of games position, so it could be cool. So if they decided to sort of retcon this moment and made it so Kane created a new circus here with the mind files of all the original cast members, most of whom we haven't met yet, well, that would mean there's a whole other circus out there that's basically a blank slate. And if the blue dot is indeed a villain here, like we've analyzed in this theory so far, well, it's out there right now, all alone with no red dot Kane to hold it back. Maybe you could find that new circus and truly wreak some havoc. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory, Jax from the Amazing Digital Circus is not who he appears to be.
Okay, everyone knew that. Everyone found out that too. I believe the next video for this like film review is 55 minutes, so it's gonna be like a long video, an hour video for me. I will probably pause at least 5 minutes worth, so they're at least an hour video. I really enjoyed this video, 100%. Great. I do think the Main Sagas is over though. Like I said, the only way I can see it living on one, merch videos, shorts, and crossover like merch videos or crossover videos, I guess. And is if they do like the merge zones, which I actually really enjoyed. It made me like Jay so much. With merge zones, they basically make it so they do a special. It's obviously a merch out at the end, but it's also a special, so a lot of people will come back for the special at relatively somewhat much. Hope they do that, and if not, and if they do want to do a prequel series, I'm all here for it. But like I said, I doubt they're gonna do it.